All right, it says 11. Welcome, everybody. This is Math 1015, Mathematics and Exploration. I hope you got two things so far. Welcome to the class. I'm glad to see you all. Hope you had a good summer. Hope you're having a good college life so far. For me, it's pretty much the same as last year at college here. Actually, I'm in a new office, which is pretty awesome. But I can't imagine that you care. This is Math 1015. Let's just talk through the syllabus a little bit, if you don't mind. You can see at the very top there, I'm teaching two sections of this class. We are section 3, which meets at 11. The other section is a little bit earlier. If you ever have something weird going on with your schedule and you would rather come at the other time, that's totally fine with me. You can see the other time here. And it's in that room, the next room down. So if for whatever reason, you would rather go to that one, that's okay. There's a few extra chairs in that room. I got one of each. Oh, yeah? Okay, sorry. All right. I hope nobody else comes. Oh, there. All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about. You can see here my name is pronounced Stecker. That's how you say it. My email address is there. That's the best way to get in touch with me. This is the way that I sort of assume that if you ever need to get in touch with me, you should send me an email. And I am often going to be sending emails to you and to the class. So read your emails. Sometimes people say to me, I never read my Fairfield U email. I would say, read it. That's what else am I going to do to get in touch with you? I don't want to text you or whatever. So read your emails, please. If you have some kind of disaster and you want to tell me a different email address to use for you, I can do that. But I'm just going to use your regular Fairfield University email address. And you should too. All right, my office is Banno 17. Used to be 16, now it's 17. That is in this building, but all the way down, we're on the 3rd floor now. My office is like in the basement, below the 1st floor. And it's a little confusing to get there. So give yourself a few extra minutes if you ever want to come to my office. The bottom level, like the basement level, doesn't exist in this part of the building. So you have to go, good morning. I got papers. Thank you. You have to go down this way before going all the way down. Towards the library. I can see the library out my office window, so that's where it is. All right, my office hours are written right there. Those hours includes, I'm always available right before class and also right after class for at least 30 minutes. So check it out. If those times don't work for you for whatever reason, then but you want to set something else up, we can do that. No problem. Just let me know by email. And all of my office hours, you can come to my office, of course. That's the usual way. But if you prefer, we can meet on Zoom if you like. Like during my office times, I will also have my Zoom turned on. So if you want to connect to that rather than walking over, that's totally fine with me. If you go to that link and I'm not there, it's because I forgot to turn it on. But I get like a notification whenever somebody comes, so I will be there in a moment if that happens. All right. You can see the time, the date and the time for the final exam is there. We are section 3, so it's Monday at 11:30 a.m. And the class website, if you hit this QR code, you will find the class website with an actual clickable Zoom link on it, so you don't have to type that in. But also the website is where I'm going to post all of our homework assignments, so you will want to go there at least once a week to get the homework assignments. I'm not really going to use Blackboard. I find Blackboard kind of a hassle. If you go to Blackboard, you basically won't see anything but a link to this other web page, which is a little more bare bones, but that's what I'm into that. So check that out, at least for the homeworks. That's where the homeworks are going to be, so you're going to have to go there once a week. All right, let's just sort of chat about this class. So the course description, this is Math 1015 as far as what is covered in this class, it's basically random topics that I think are interesting. So it's not meant to be a continuation of stuff that you did in high school, and it's also not meant to lead to any other stuff that you're going to do later on in college. The idea of this class, it says right there in the description, is meant for the student who would like to fulfill a core math requirement, but who does not need to take mathematics for their major. So if you are in like a business major or one of the sciences, this may not be the appropriate class for you because you probably have to take some other kind of sort of science-related math class. So if you have any questions about whether this is the appropriate class for you, please let me know, and I'd be happy to chat about it with you. Probably, if somebody or other put you in here, this is probably the right place for you. But if you're considering, switching to a physics major or something, then you definitely don't want to be in this class. You should be in some kind of calculus class. All right, I can tell by the looks on some of your faces you are not considering becoming a physics major, and you are in the right place. That's your situation. All right. The idea is, I think for many of you, maybe for most of you, this may very well be the last math class that you ever take, right? And so the sort of the idea behind this class is, like, if this really is the last math class you're ever going to take, then there's not really much point in me trying to prepare you for something else, because there is nothing else. Your life is over at this point. And also, so one point of view is like, okay, maybe I could like try to do that stuff that you did in high school like one more time. That stuff that like didn't totally make much sense. We could talk about the quadratic formula and factoring and all that. But that to me is not really helpful either. Like, what does that do to try and teach you one more time to factor a polynomial? I think it's a much better idea, and the concept of this course is I'm going to try to show you something interesting about mathematics, not something that you're going to use in your everyday life, because let's face it, like all the everyday math that you use in your real life, you probably already knew before high school. Like things like adding and multiplying are super useful in your real life. Things like factoring a polynomial are not super useful in your real life. They're useful in other math classes. If there are no other math classes, then let's just not talk about that. So this is meant to be things which seem interesting. That's really the only sort of guidelines for what is going to be in this course. So I have chosen things that are interesting to me. I hope that they're also interesting to you. But that's the idea here. Please let me know if you feel like, if you're not sure this is the right course for you. I'm happy to talk about it with you. Let's talk about the next thing. It says mastery-based assessment. This is the way the grading works in this class, and this is weird, so pay attention, I guess. The grading is going to be strange. You have here, the other thing that I handed out is this big checklist. This is a list of all the topics that we are going to cover in this class. When you look at the list, probably you've never heard of most or any of these things, and that's fine. They're what we're going to talk about in the class. But the bulk of your grade for the semester is based on this checklist. So as we go through the semester, as you answer test questions or whatever, you are going to check things off of the list. And by the time you get to the end, if you got all the things checked off, you get 100%. If you got only some of them checked off, you get only some of the percents. But that's the way that the grade, most of your grade for the entire class is based on this list. So you should keep this actual piece of paper. Every time we take a test, you're going to update your list based on how you did on the test. Of course, if you lose it or whatever, I will happily give you another one. You can print out another one at the class website. But this is the basic idea. So this is called, I didn't invent this, but I think it's a good way to do a class like this. This is called mastery-based assessment. So what it says on the syllabus here, it says the course material has been broken down into about 30 different specific objectives to master. And each of you has your own checklist, and I have sort of a nightmare spreadsheet, which is a full checklist for all of you in a giant thing where I'm going to keep track for every one of you how you are doing on each one of these 30 whatever different things. It says students demonstrate their mastery of each objective by correctly answering exam questions, each of which is clearly labeled as assessing one specific objective. And if a student answers an exam question correctly, this will be marked as mastered. And it says once an objective is mastered, the student does not need to answer any more questions addressing that objective. So the idea is when you take one of our tests, every question on the test will be specifically marked that says which one of these things it is. And if you get that question right, you can check that thing off your list, and you never have to answer a question about that again for the remainder of the course. I will consider you to have mastered that thing. You can concentrate on everything else from then on. All right, that's the way it works. Because of the way that this works, every test will include a question about every one of these things, at least the ones that we got to so far. So if you take the first test and you get something wrong, there is no penalty in your grade for getting it wrong. It just means you didn't get the check yet. And when you take the next test, that question will appear again, not exactly the same question, but the same type of thing. And that's another chance for you to check it off. So every time you take a test, those are opportunities for you to check items off the list. And hopefully by the end of the semester, you will have checked everything off the list and you'll get an A. That's the idea. Everybody clear on the basic idea? The reason for this somewhat weird system is that I really do feel that when you're learning pretty much anything, but especially and including mathematics, the way to learn something involves doing it wrong several times before you eventually do it right. And the idea with this kind of grading system is you can do it wrong on the tests with no penalty as long as you eventually do it right. And really, from my point of view as an educator and evaluating your performance, I don't care if you get it right the first time. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that you eventually get it right. So that's the way that the grading system is designed to reflect that. There is no penalty for doing it wrong, although you will give yourself more work. If you get 0 questions right on the first test, it means you're kind of on the hook the next time around for more questions, but whatever. All right. So you will see on the checklist, there's like 2 columns. You can get half credit, all right? So if you do it completely right, you'll get 2 points. If you do it sort of half right, you'll get 1 point. And if you do something inappropriate, you'll get 0 points. If you get 1 point, that means you can still take it again. Then you can answer that question again the next time and hopefully up it to 2 points. If there's some kind of disaster, you get 1 and then 0. I'm not going to tank your score down to 0. You keep the 1 from the first time around. All right. Because of the way this system works, if you look, flip it over, you'll see our exams. We're going to have kind of a lot of exams. That's because I want to give you a lot of opportunities to check the things off the list. So there are 4 exams during the semester, in addition to the final exam, after the semester is over. And you can see the dates of the 4 exams there. Put them on your calendar or something. All right. I hope that this, having four tests is kind of a lot to do, but these are not. I hope that this is not like a big stressful thing. These are opportunities for you to check off items on the list. And so I want to give you as many opportunities as possible, since it doesn't matter per se if you mess it up once before getting it right eventually. All right. It says each exam will include 1 question for each objective covered so far, and you may skip questions covering objectives that you have already mastered. So when you come to the test, I will tell you to bring your list with you, just so that you know which ones you've already checked off or whatever. And for that reason, I will also ask you don't write a bunch of stuff on this, because you're going to bring it with you to the test, so I don't want you to use this as a note card, that kind of thing. Just keep it nice and clean somehow for the whole semester. All right. One thing that's this can be slightly confusing, because when we take one of these tests, you don't really get a grade for the test. You just get some of your things are checked off and some are not. So if you're ever concerned about am I actually doing well in this class or not, feel free to ask me and I will try to tell you. Although it's true, you can do terribly at the beginning without affecting your grade at all. You're not screwed if you fail one of the tests. Although it does mean you're going to have to work harder to catch up eventually. All right. great. There's a little note about the final exam here. It says the final exam is no different from any of the other tests. So this is just one last chance for you to check items off of the list. So we are going to have a test in class on the last day of class. And if everything goes perfectly, you'll be done at that point. After that test, you will have checked off the last topics that we do. And that's it. And in that case, you don't need to take the final exam. The final exam is just your chance to clean up any leftover little things. All right, great. Yes?
So, for our exams, will this checklist, like, will we be able to use this?
Yeah, you should bring it with you so that you know which questions to answer. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's hard to remember, so bring it. Okay, great. I hope that sounds like a good idea. I know it's a little confusing, but let me know if anything is not clear. I will clarify as much as I can. One thing that it says at the end of the exams bit, students will not use calculators or other electronic gadgetry during exams. It's true. I don't want to do calculators during the test just because people with fancy calculators can do nefarious things in your calculators, and I don't want to deal with any of that. The stuff that we are doing in this class really does not involve much calculation at all. So you're not going to miss the calculators unless you intended to use them for nefarious purposes. All right. Great. Let's talk about the homework. So there is also going to be homework which will be much more like traditional in terms of the grading. So every week there's going to be a homework assignment due on Wednesday. You write the answers, I read the answers, and I give you a grade based on, are they right or wrong with partial credit in totally ordinary type grading for the homeworks. So you can see the grading breakdown here. It says the mastery, that's the checklist, is 75% of your grade, and then the homework is 25% of the grade. So that's really all there is to it. All right, can I just say a few things about the homework? It says, like I said before, the homework will be posted on the class website each week, due every Wednesday. And I would encourage you to work together with your friends on the homework. If you got friends in this class, by all means, do the homework with your friends. You should give me, when you hand it in, I want to see like your own paper. Don't hand it in as a group, but if you want to work together with other people, that's totally fine with me. All right. Any questions about any of that stuff so far? It's strange, but I think it's a good system. Hopefully it will work out nicely. Let's talk about a little thing about online submission. So the homeworks are all going to be submitted electronically. I don't want you to hand in on paper during class just because it's actually easier for me if you do it electronically. And also I think it's nice it means the homework assignments will be due Wednesday night, like before midnight, 11:59 p.m. on each Wednesday is when the homework is due. So if you work on the homework, work on the homework over the weekend and at the beginning of the week. And then if you still have a few little questions left over on Wednesday, feel free to ask me during class on Wednesday. I'll try and help out any last minute things, and then you can finish it after class and send it in. That's the idea. To get a little practice with that, I would like for us all to do a little quick test of the submission system. So the system is a website called Gradescope, and you should do all of this on your phone. You can do it on a computer, but it's a pain. Gradescope.com. They have an app, but you can also just use your browser. I've never used the app because I am not a student, and the way that I use it is different from the way that you use it. But it's called Gradescope. You should have got an email from them yesterday about setting up your password, which I would invite you to do right now if you haven't done. And I would like, if you go to Gradescope, you will find a dummy assignment, which I want us all to try to do right now. The way that Gradescope works, it is electronic, but you're going to write all your homework or whatever is going to be written on paper by hand in the usual way that you would write your math homework. You don't have to type anything out. And then the way you use Gradescope is you take a picture of your handwritten papers and send it into the website that way. So what I see when you submit is just a bunch of photographs of your work. So go there. The dummy assignment is I would like you to write something interesting about yourself on a piece of paper and send it in as your assignment. Something minimally interesting. If you don't want to tell me something interesting, that's okay, I guess. And I am going to, I want to do this now just to make sure that everybody is understanding how it works. I'm going to walk around and make sure everybody's doing okay. Please let me know if you're having problems getting yourself logged in. You do need to follow the link in the email that they sent you to set your password. Yes? It's meant to be done on your phone. You take a picture of handwritten stuff. You have a picture. You can, I mean, you can make it if you want to, but like when you're doing your homework, that's the thing. Okay?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Yes.
All right, I'll give you a few more minutes. All right, I think I'm ready to continue. If you're still having problems, then let me know and I'd be happy to help you work it out. You will want this to be figured out by Wednesday of next week because that's when our first homework will be due.
Next week or this
Wednesday
week?
next week. Yeah, not tomorrow. Yep. All right. Great. Let's continue to chat a little bit here. So just a few more things, and then we can talk about our first topic. A few more things on the syllabus here. There's a little thing about, should I show my work when I do the homeworks? The answer is yes, you should show your work when you do the homeworks. I'm asking the questions here, but I already know what the answers are, so I don't really care if you just tell me the answer to the question. What I want to see when you're doing the homework is that I want to see evidence that you know how to get the answer. This does include writing the answer, but you have to, show me that you actually know how to get the answer, not just writing the answer out of nowhere. So yes, you should show your work. There will be occasionally questions where the answer is kind of obvious if you know what you're doing and there's really nothing to say. That's fine if you really have nothing to say. But I think we all know the difference between a question where there's nothing to say and a question where you just copied the answer from somebody else and didn't want to write anything else. So show your work, please. All right, last few things on here. There's a little thing about attendance. You will notice that there is no line on the grade percentages for attendance. So attendance does not directly affect your grade. I consider it your responsibility to figure out what was going on, stuff that you missed. So if you miss class, actually it should be fairly easy to catch yourself up, but it's not, I don't consider it my job to chase after you in that situation. I would be enthusiastic about helping out in any way that I can. So if you miss something, and because of that you don't understand something, let me know and we'll talk about it. But I'm not gonna call your mom and hassle you about that sort of thing. And that goes for missing homework assignments too. If you just decide not to do any homework assignments at a certain level, I'm okay with that. It just means you will do terribly in your homework grade. But I'm not gonna hassle you or call your mom and try to make you do what you're supposed to be doing. I feel like that's not really my role in this whole transaction here. I'm always enthusiastic about helping out in any way I can, but to me that doesn't include sort of hassling you. So I'm not likely to hassle you. All right, a little note there on the syllabus about office hours. It just says, I hope that you will feel free to come and chat with me about questions about the homework or going over stuff before a test or whatever. This I consider to be part of the ordinary your ordinary behavior as a student in this class. This is not something that is only for people who are totally screwed and don't understand anything. Although if you are totally screwed and don't understand everything, I would love to talk to you about that. But I would expect that even people who are doing fine in the class would find it helpful to ask questions every so often. I hope that you feel good about doing that. It's certainly not required. You don't ever have to talk to me if you don't want to, but I am available for that. All right, and then there's a little note at the end there about counseling services. Being a college is kind of weird, and we have counseling services for free, kinda. I mean, nothing here is really free, but it's included in whatever else. So check it out if you might find that helpful. It's never going to be free again in the rest of your life, unless those Democrats have their way. Am I right? Anyway, check it out. I have found therapy helpful in the past. Every so often, my wife says, maybe you should talk to Stacy about that. Yeah. I'm not seeing Stacy at the moment, but I got a list. All right, check them out if you feel that would be helpful. Okay, and one last thing before we get into it. On the back of the checklist, you will see a little information, a little something about the math chat question. This is something I haven't tried this before. I don't know how successful this will be, but I thought it might make a nice little addition to this course. The math chat question. Actually, that's the last thing on the checklist, and this is probably the easiest thing to check off of the list. It says sometime on or before September 18th, that's 2 weeks from now, each student should submit one open-ended question about mathematics on Gradescope. It's not there yet, but you will see a little assignment for you to fill in about the math chat question. All right? The idea, it should not be a simple mathematical question with a simple answer, like what is 8 times 12? It should be something that like people can have a conversation about, or some kind of something about math rather than like actually a math question. Yes?
I'm sorry, I just don't have.
There's nothing on the back of the checklist?
Oh, sorry.
That's where it is. Yes. Yeah, the back of the other thing doesn't have anything. The idea is I would like to sort of generate from you guys a bunch of interesting questions that might be interesting to discuss in class. Not like, how do you do the quadratic formula, but like questions about mathematics. I mean, they can be specific questions, but those aren't terribly interesting from my point of view. So it could be I said right here, it might be a question about mathematics, like is mathematics created or discovered? This is one of the things that people like to think about. I don't know if you ever thought about that before, but anyway, it says, I'm looking for questions that would make for interesting things to discuss among regular, thoughtful people, not things that require you to know some fancy math. I'm not looking for anything real fancy. My inspiration for this is like, it doesn't happen all that often, but it has happened fairly regularly. When I like go somewhere and meet people, I tell them I'm a math professor, and often they say like, oh really? I hate math. I was like, oh, okay. Don't say that to a mathematician. I mean, it doesn't upset me, but it's like, all right, not a great start to the conversation. But anyway, sometimes I meet people like, people in their 40s or whatever, and they're like, oh, you're a mathematician? I got this math question that I've been thinking about in the back of my head for like 20 years or something. And it's usually not like a specific question, but it's more kind of an abstract question about mathematics in general, like what mathematics is or something like that. This is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. So I don't know if these are things that you ever think about. I mean, I'm imagining like, I remember when I was in high school, I had this idea. This is like a stoner type idea, although I was never a stoner, but it was like, we have like true and false. That's like all of mathematics is based on true and false. But what if there was like another one, like a third one? Could you like make mathematics based on that? Would that be like totally different? Yeah, think about that, right? This is the kind of question that I'm looking for. Now, I don't know if all of you just like have such a question that you've been thinking about all along, but I'll give you some time to think about it. Talk to your friends about it if you like. It says feel free to chat with your friends to get ideas. Don't ask the AIs. I'm not looking for that. So I would like everybody to send in a question by, I said September 18th. And it says towards the end there, if your question is minimally interesting, you will get full credit for it. So you'll get this item at the bottom of the list will be checked off. As long as it's a reasonable question. Don't just give me like what is 2 plus 2. And then it says, if I use your question as a springboard for a class discussion, I will give you 1 extra bonus point for free. So you'll get like 3 points rather than 2, which is actually kind of a big deal if you do the math on how many points those are for your total grade. So that's a little bonus for anybody with a question that I think is really interesting enough to talk about. All right, anybody got questions about that? I hope this is not too burdensome. Maybe you've never had any question about anything, but I feel like there is some kind of sense in which, like, for your mathematics career so far, probably every math class you've ever taken has been based on, I'm going to tell you how to do something, and then you got to do that thing on the test. And that, to be honest, that is mostly how this class is going to run also. But within that whole framework, like, you can live your whole educational life for like the first 20 years of your life and never actually think about math like from a distance or something. Like, all you think about is, how do I do this and this and this and this? But that's not really thinking about mathematics in general. So this is what I would like to try to encourage you to do. All right, excellent. Maybe we got 15 minutes left. I think I can try and start telling you about my sort of vision for this class in particular, and then maybe we'll start talking about something very basic. The reason I am using the screen today is because I am going to be recording what I say and do in class every time. So I'm catching video of this screen here. that jiggle is going to be in it. And then after class, I'm going to post it on YouTube so you can watch later on, like before the test or whatever. If your notes aren't great and you want to go review something or other, that I hope that that's going to be helpful. I think I'm usually going to use the whiteboard because, like I said, I teach 2 sections of this. I'm planning on just recording the first one, and then in here I'll just do it more traditionally on the board because I think it's a little easier probably than looking at that thing. But I messed up the recording this morning in the other class, so I'm doing it here for now. All right. My kind of inspiration or my vision for this class is I can explain it in terms of a film that I saw once. I sort of grew up in the 90s, and there was a movie. This was like a 90s teen movie called She's All That. Anyone familiar with this film? I'm not really the demographic for this film, but this is sort of a romantic comedy chick flick kind of movie. But I saw it when I was in high school because my sister was watching it on the TV, and I just happened to be in the room. That's why I saw it. The idea of the movie is the main character is kind of a nerdy high school girl who like wears glasses all the time and has her hair in a ponytail, and she no offense if any of you wear glasses all the time and have your hair in a ponytail, that's totally perfectly fine way to be. She is sort of the nerdy girl in high school who doesn't have any friends, and then there's like the hot jock guy, and his friends convince him, like as a prank, as a joke, to ask out the nerdy girl and go to the prom or something. And he agrees that this would be hilarious if the jock guy, asked out the nerdy girl. So he asks her out, and she says yes, and he's gonna, go to the prom and humiliate her as a big joke or something. And in getting ready for the prom, she gets together with her like cool aunt, and they have like a makeover, which consists of her taking her glasses off and taking the ponytail out, and then she's suddenly like this sexy girl. And she goes to the prom with the guy, and the guy sees her and he's like, "Whoa, you're a sexy girl now." And they actually start dating because he's so amazed by her. And then they really begin to have a nice relationship. And then towards the end of the movie, like 20 minutes before the end of the movie, she finds out that this was all a prank all along. And she's like, "I can't be with you if this was all a big joke." You missed the beginning of the story. Sorry. He's like, "I can't be with," she says, we're through because of this. And he's like, no, like I know it was a joke at first, but like now I really see how great you are and how beautiful you are. And she's like, "No, forget it." But then they eventually, like at the end, they reconcile, and it's like a happy ending. And at the end, what's interesting to me is at the end, like she sort of puts the glasses back on, but like in a sexy way somehow, and like she is not. And he learns that like her true beauty was always on the inside anyway, and like he doesn't need her to take her glasses off for him to love her or whatever. So anyway, this is my vision for our class. All right, I think that for many of you, maybe this isn't true, but for many of you, maybe mathematics as a discipline, as an activity, is sort of like the nerdy girl. And you're just taking this class not because you're brilliant, you're really into math, but because you have to. I consider it like my task here is to like maybe take the glasses off, take the ponytail out, and maybe like sexy it up a little bit for you all to help you to understand or to see the beauty of the subject. But I'm not trying to fool you. Like, I don't actually want you to be learning sort of like a sexied up version of math. Hopefully at the end, I would like for you to all be able to say, I'm not expecting to like turn you into career mathematicians, but I hope that you will at least say like, okay, I kind of get it. Like not that, maybe not even that you're good at it, but at least like I hope to show you some of the appeal, some of the beauty of the subject by the end of the course, so that for the rest of your life, you know, you might still say like, I don't really like math, or maybe you do, I don't know, but at least you can kind of see where they're coming from, these people who are doing mathematics and who are interested in mathematics. For me personally, like why I am a mathematician and why I like to do math is not necessarily because I'm good at it, although I suppose I am, but I'm actually not very good with numbers. I am interested in mathematics because it's beautiful. Like that's really what I care about in the end, as far as my life as a mathematician. And so I am hoping to share a bit of that with you all. That's my goal for the semester. Any thoughts about that? All right, we'll see how it goes. We got 10 minutes. Maybe we can start talking about a little something. So, like I said, the course as a whole is kind of a bunch of different topics. And if you look at the checklist, you will see there's sort of two major themes. And the first is voting, and the second is something completely different called graph theory. But let's start talking about voting. Voting. I'm going to try to write nicely here. Voting is going to be what we spend, at least half of the class talking about. Voting is one of those things that seems very simple, but actually is complex when you look at it closely. This is one of the things, closely. This is actually one of the things that I find beautiful about mathematics, is that there are some things which seem sort of simple and uninteresting, but actually when you examine them closely, they turn out to be much more complicated than you thought. And voting is one of those things. Voting, of course, is something that everybody knows the basics of. Sorry, I got to get my paper out here. Especially if you grow up in the United States, voting is like something that everybody sort of knows about and does from time to time. You probably don't vote on things every day, but I mean just like amongst your friends making decisions together. People say, oh, let's just have a little vote. And the standard way that we do this kind of voting, can I just say first, we are going to talk about real world political voting. I don't know if you guys are really into politics or not. If you are really into politics, I think you will find this especially interesting. If not, that's totally fine. I don't care if you know anything about politics. We are occasionally going to talk about political things, but I am not interested in talking about my own political opinions. I appear before you as a mathematician, not as a political activist or anything like that. So I know a lot of people get nervous. People who are really into politics sometimes get nervous about talking about politics because you think that somehow I'm going to try to inject my secret agenda into our conversations. I'm not about that. I do have my own political opinions, which I'm happy to share with anybody who wants to know about them, but I personally don't feel like this class is the appropriate venue for me to just tell you all my political opinions just for fun. So I will try to be upfront about my own opinions about things, but if I am talking about my own opinions, but I'm not interested in talking about my own opinions. I am interested in talking about the mathematics. So anyway, the voting that we typically do in the United States. So in the USA, we usually vote in a certain way. I'm going to say something that will seem like totally obvious. How does voting work in the United States, at least? Usually it votes like this. You have some kind of decision to make. Let's just say like you're voting for the president or whatever. I give you a ballot which has a certain number of choices on it. You got the Trump and the Harris and then probably some other people you never heard of. You choose one of them. So the way that we vote is each voter chooses their favorite option. You know, if it's people, you choose your favorite candidate, or maybe you're voting for something else, whatever. You choose your favorite option on the ballot. You give it to some guy, right? And then all those ballots are counted. So count them all up. And then the one with the most votes wins, right? This is how we do voting in the United States in almost all of our political elections. One famous example where it's not quite so easy is the election for the US president. As you know, is done using basically like this, but there's also this thing called the electoral college system, which is a weird other way. You don't literally just count all the votes up. You group them state by state, and then you do some other weird thing. That's the electoral college system. But for all of our other elections, this is almost always the way that they work, all right? And there's a name for this method of doing it. You have a question?
It's plurality.
Yeah, it's called the plurality system. You don't hear this a lot in the US just because this is the way we do it, and nobody calls it anything because that's just the way voting works in the US. But anyway, it has a name. This is called the plurality system. All right, so when I say the plurality system, you should think that just means like ordinary voting. It means everybody makes one choice for their favorite option, whatever person, and then you add up all the votes, and you see who the winner is. All right, the plurality system. It turns out the plurality system sounds like a totally ordinary way to do voting. This is actually a bad system for mathematical reasons in many contexts, all right? And this is the sort of the major theme of what we're going to be talking about for the next couple weeks or so. This is, I will just say, mathematically bad in many situations. And there are actually many people in our politics now who want to change the system. They don't want to do it this way anymore. Maybe you've heard of this sort of efforts to change the way that we do voting. We're going to talk about those things eventually. But I'm not saying they're bad for political reasons, although people for political reasons have opinions about this. But actually, I want to talk about actual mathematical ways that we can look at this system and sort of talk about its strengths and weaknesses. All right. That's my very brief introduction. I think I'll leave it at that. If anybody has any questions about anything, the grade scope or whatever, or if you're not sure if you should be in this class, I'll hang around and I would be happy to chat with anybody. Otherwise, see you tomorrow.